Everyday Juggler, your source for juggling highlights, interviews, tutorials, and reviews. And now your host, Sean Livingston.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to this edition of Everyday Juggler Profiles. Today we get to hang out with Joe Showers. Joe, thanks so much for being with us today, and I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, how long you've been juggling, and what you're most excited about when it comes to juggling right now.
Okay. Well, where I'm from, I am from Geneseo, New York, which is south of Rochester, and I lived there when I was a kid. I didn't even do any juggling there until I went to college, and I went to college in Syracuse, which is the next town over from Rochester, New York, and that's where I went to college. I learned how to juggle there. That was about 11 years ago now, and after I came back, when I got done with college, I decided I wanted to try being a juggler, and I had a couple different partnerships with a couple different people, and now I'm just finally doing it all by myself, and that's where I'm from. Those are my juggle roots, and what I'm looking forward to most right now is pretty much like reinventing myself and my image. Like before, I was just a really psyched juggler, and now I'm trying to learn more about the performer aspect and how to market yourself and how to be like a real character, and also bring juggling into this exciting land where like you're doing things that people haven't done before, but it's just right in front of you. It's so obvious that it's just exciting. I'm really happy about it.
Okay, so you're working on some things that you don't think people have ever done before?
Yeah. One of them I just started prototyping this past week, and it's like a combination balance bucket and ping pong ball juggling. Because you've seen people juggle ping pong balls with their mouth. You've seen balance bucket routines where they have the thing up on the top and they throw it in and it's all good. But never before have I seen somebody balance something on their head with nets all around it and shoot ping pong balls out of their mouth into those things. So that's what I'm working on right now.
All right, that sounds fun. Anything else? Any other notable creations?
Well, I think I'm the only person on the planet to own a kendama made out of plungers. So that's kind of a thing that I'm known for. I don't know. Do you do much kendama?
My wife got me a kendama for Christmas, and I don't know where it is.
It's around there somewhere.
It's around here somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's the first time I've played with one, and
yeah. I think it's incredibly fun, and the biggest thing about performing with a kendama is it's so small. It's only like the size of your hand, so people aren't going to see it if they're way back. But then I was like, okay, how do I make a larger kendama? And then I was like, all right, let's make it goofy. Let's make it out of plungers. So I have this big old plunger dama. You can see it from no matter where you are in the audience, and I think that's a unique creation. I don't think anybody else has that.
Absolutely. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then, if something goes wrong in the bathroom, you're always ready.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Toilet humor. I like where it's going.
Always prepared. All right. So when did you say you started juggling?
I started juggling in 2004.
2004. And that was when you started college?
Yeah. It was like the fall of 2004, like August.
Okay. And how did you get, what was it about college? How did you get involved?
My friend honestly just said, my friend John Haffner, he used to run the juggling club at Syracuse University, and he used to take me to a couple of festivals too. And he just saw me on, like freshman weekend on one of those things where everybody's out on the quad and it's like, hey, sign up for this, sign up for that. And he was like, hey, sign up for juggling club. And I'm like, all right, whatever, sounds good. And then I went to my first juggling club meeting and I was absolutely hooked. I don't know what it is about juggling, but I wanted to do it all the time. And then I did do it all the time, and yeah, that's really how I started. It was just one of these like chance meetings.
Mm-hmm. So was he saying that to everybody, or was there something about you that he was like, "That's a juggler over there"?
I wish I could say that there was like my destiny, but no, he was just every single person that passed the booth. He was like, hey, join juggling club. And I actually listened to him and stopped because I was polite.
Yeah, right. Everybody else was walking past going, weird.
Everybody else is just like, don't look at him. If you don't, just pretend like you didn't see him, and then he'll stop talking to you. That's pretty much everybody's reaction to jugglers, yeah.
So you started in your freshman year of college, and which is actually pretty late.
Yeah, I was 18 at the time.
I think a lot of people, you do juggling, that's all you do, right? Like you
Hmm.
you live, and so I think it's good to hear that you don't necessarily have to be juggling since you were 4. You know.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think this is where, your brains come in more than your arms. Because if you start when you're 4 and you have this incredible ability, then you're definitely going to be, a virtuoso. You're going to be a practitioner of juggling, and you're going to want to like go to circus school and make this dope act and explore juggling really deeply. But if you're an older guy, look at the kind of stuff that like Eric Oberg produces, like those ghost boxes. That's a really, really smart idea. That's like kind of juggly, but it's like this brand new idea. And there's a ton of performers out there who are older guys that maybe can't juggle as well as Lauga can. But if you take a look at Rootberry, they're always making new props. They're always coming out with new routines. They're always writing new comedy. They're always like trying to do comedy and juggling and in a way that's been presented like none other before.
Hmm. And so you started when you're 18, and what kind of kept you going?
Just the cathartic nature of the practice. I really do like practicing juggling. Like every time I go to practice, I'm always trying to improve at juggling. So that's probably like my first and foremost thing. But then I just like playing with toys. And so juggling, just the 3 major props, balls, rings, and clubs. I did that for like 4 years straight. And then somebody gave me a Diablo. And I was like, okay, I can learn this. And so now I know rudimentary Diablo. And then somebody gave me devil sticks. And then I got cigar boxes. And then I got a kendama. And I wasted a lot of time on that. And then yo-yo and everything else that comes in with juggling, like every single toy that you can do something with, all these skill toys. I just think it's amazing that you can learn how to play with these things and have a really great time with a very simple object.
Hmm.
So I think that's probably what keeps me coming back to juggling all the time.
Hmm. Do you ever this is something that I kind of feel when I'm learning a new prop. I feel like I'm like forsaking my like the acceleration of a skill in another prop.
Mhm.
And like, oh, now I'm not going to be as good at this or that. How do you kind of balance that out to make sure you're still honing your skills all around?
Well, one thing I definitely do is make sure that my practices are very efficient. So like when I'm practicing juggling, I do a lot of drills and a lot of training. I'm doing pyramids all the time, and I'm doing drills to make sure that the tricks that I want to achieve are going to be achievable, if that makes any sense at all.
Hmm.
Instead of just sort of like willy-nilly going about it and being like, maybe I'll practice this today, maybe I'll practice that today. You gotta keep your head in the game when you're trying to work on one of the things that you need a lot of help progressing with, because it's like the iceberg rule. The first 10% is going to be real easy, but then the other like 90%, the mastery of that is going to take all of your time.
Hmm.
So you just have to be really efficient when you're working on stuff like that. But then in the meantime, if you're back at home, you can play with a kendama in your room. You can play with it at the bank line. I'm not getting any juggling practice there. So I think it's just finding things that you can do while you're sort of putzing around throughout the day.
Huh. Okay. So I hear 2 things. One is you just need to you need to basically plan your practice sessions and make sure you're using the most of the time you have.
Mhm.
And second, figure out when you could be practicing that currently you're just doing something that's useless. Or
Yeah. I mean, people say all the time, like, I just stretch when I'm watching television shows, or I do, foam rolling when I'm not busy, or like when I'm brushing my teeth, I stand on one foot, whatever. It's these tiny little things that it's going to add up to like more and more props under your control.
hmm as you learn to juggle, and even now, have you been involved in juggling clubs?
Yeah. I went to the Syracuse Juggling Club while I was in school there, so that happened for 4 years. And now that I'm back in Rochester, I spend a lot of time with the University of Rochester and the RIT juggling clubs. And there's also a third club in town here, the Rochester City Juggling Club. So there's 3 clubs. When school's in session, we meet like 6 days a week, So Rochester's a really nice town for juggling. In terms of involvement in the clubs, I've gone to their activities fairs and like helped them recruit people in the past, and I always like try to help out at the RIT Spring Juggling by either housing people at my place, or helping out with any of the shows or any of the games that they want to run. And the University of Rochester Jugglers have a spring show and a fall show that I go to every year. Try to support them, try to bring my friends in, just try to like help their club grow and teach workshops and stuff. Just make it a good community for the jugglers.
Mm-hmm. How do you think that the community of jugglers has impacted how you juggle or how you enjoy juggling?
Well, I know that I have a lot to owe to the juggling community, because they were the ones that just kept getting me excited, kept flooding me with new ideas, and I feel like this big surge of energy every single time I get in with like into a festival that I've been at for the past 8 or 9 years or whatever, like going to Philly Fest or going to RIT or going to Turbo. Every time I get around other jugglers, I get this like great big well of energy, and I just want to like share it with everybody. And so in that sense, like they've given me this amazing lifelong passion, and that I can really just keep doing until the end of my career. And for that I'm like really, really grateful. So I just try to give it back in ways that are kind of helpful.
Mm-hmm. So you said that when you are with other jugglers, it brings like this energy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any good stories about how that energy that develops between you and the jugglers is kind of made a festival more fun?
Yeah, there's always like when everybody wants to go to bed, you just start bashing your clubs together and calling for combat at 3 a.m. at Turbo or wherever you are. But I do this one game that I try to run at like Renegade Festival, or at Renegade stages at the festivals, called Juggling Fear Factor. And I try to make it like this really fun game that gets people involved, and it's a little bit risky, but it's mostly just like stupid stuff that people want to see done. And I try to pass a hat around to get some prize money for the winner. But I've had some really outrageous ideas come to light. Like last year at MadFest, I wanted one of the events to be a bunch of kids standing against a wall, and I'd be like way over here with a hockey stick shooting tangerines at them, like full blast. And if they caught one, they get to move on to the next round. So you have to like jostle your position and then like lunge for one of these tangerines, and everyone's like, you can't do that, they're just kids. But you looked up on stage and they were like smiling and they were having a great time and everything. So people will think that it's risky, and it might be, but I think more importantly it's just like this wacky thing that nobody's ever really done before, and I just try to make it fun.
All right. So you started juggling in college, and you got really involved in the clubs, and you still are. And now juggling's your full-time gig.
Mm-hmm.
How's it been a part of your career?
Okay, it's definitely different. I started working with more performers now that I went down to Dollywood, just because recently I've gotten in with this amusement park called Dollywood. It's in Tennessee, and I've been doing a lot of work there. And the singers and dancers that in like the theater people that are in the shows, they understand more of the direction that I should be going in terms of like a career choice. Before, I was looking at juggling and being like, okay, I need to get better at juggling, then people will respect me more. But honestly, it's more than that. When it comes to performing, you have to consider all of the aspects of your show. How does your costume look? How does your props look? How does your prop stand look? What are the choices of words that you're going to say? And these are really important. If you look at some really great performers, I saw like the MCs of shows that stand out to me. Coney Island Chris. Have you ever seen Coney Island Chris do any work?
I've not.
Okay, well, you should look him up on YouTube. Everybody should look him up on YouTube. He was the MC for Juggle this one year, and he had this perfect character. He looked exactly the part. He even had this like he had like a 3-minute balloon twisting routine where he said no words except for Pooh Bear at the end, and the crowd went ballistic. So he might not have been juggling, but he had that performer aspect that is like the next step that you need to learn how to do if you want to take juggling and make it a career.
So when you're looking to develop sets or your persona, who are some inspirations you look towards?
You know, inspiration is kind of a weird thing because I don't try to be a different person on stage. Like I really love the way that Josh Horton has like all the different color schemes. Like he has all of his clubs and his shoes and his outfits like color coordinated, and that's great. You know, he looks really great when he does that. So like that's not part of my act, but I enjoy that, and so I try to like think if I'm making a costume or if I'm trying to select what props I want to use, I'll have that in mind. But Ivan Pecel once told me that the you that you present on stage can't be fake. Like you can't expect to like make this crazy character that's just not you and present it as you. So you just have to make 120% version of you, bringing your best aspects out onto stage with you. Mm-hmm. So that's something that I'm like constantly working on and trying and like struggling with, just trying to find ways that I can be me on stage and have it be entertaining for people. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to inspiration, I guess it's just like kind of me, you know?
Right. So it's very important then to, you know, to be you on the stage. Like that's number one. Mm-hmm. And so when you look towards other people, you're not looking to them for ideas necessarily. You're looking at them more for kind of the values they have on stage.
Yeah.
Like you could say Josh Horton, he's coordinating and he's crisp and he's, you know, he's being very intentional about how he's coordinating everything. Yeah. So that's in the same way, you may not want to do what Josh Horton's doing, but you want to make sure that it also looks like it's intentional.
Right. And like other great performers on the stage, you know, Ivan Pecel, he's a guy that I really look up to because he was one of the first jugglers that I saw, and when I thought about doing juggling as a career, you know, I had this picture in my head that I would be him in a number of years. And you know, I have to change that slightly because I'm not going to be him. I'm going to be me. But he definitely, like, you can get a sense of who he is from the things that he does on stage. Marcus Monroe, whenever he performs, he's a freaking rock star, and you can get a total sense of who he is when you see him on stage. You know, when he steps off, he dulls it down a little bit, like he's not performing for you still, but that's still Marcus, you know, and that's what I'm trying to strive towards.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Do you have any tips for anybody who's aspiring to be a professional juggler? Yeah, for sure. Get a coach, because unless you've been, you know, doing performing, you have no idea what to do. You know, it's really, it took me a really long time to separate the fact that being a good juggler has nothing to do with being a good performer, entertainer. And you know, I'm still trying to work on that even today. But if there's one thing that I need to like say to somebody, it's get a coach. Like, find somebody who you look up to. And jugglers are all really nice people. Like, there's no way that you're gonna approach Rootberry or Marcus or anybody in this industry and have them outright reject you and say, no, get out of my face, that's way below me. Okay, there's a couple people that might say that, but for the most part, they're all going to be very supportive and like give you a direction to go in and at least tell you like what you need to be thinking about, and some ways that you can find access to the resources to get those things done. Mm-hmm. What you said about how at first you didn't know the difference between being a really good juggler and performing reminded me of a story that Tom Wall said during our conversation. He was hired to juggle at like a convention, and he went out and he went out with like, I don't know, we'll just say he went out with 3 balls, and he was doing all these crazy 3-ball tricks, and like nobody looked at him. And he had three 3 times that he had to go out and like walk around and juggle for like an hour. He went on a second time, and this time he was like, all right, well, I'm gonna juggle 4 balls this time. That'll be impressive, you know. So he does that, and the same thing. Nobody looks at him. Oh wait, no. The second time, I don't remember the story exactly, so I'm sorry, Tom, if you're listening to this. But at some point, he decides to balance something while he's juggling or on his forehead. No, this is what it was. It wasn't balancing. It was juggling plates.
Rewind.
It was juggling plates.
Yeah.
Which was way more simple than what he was doing, but somehow everybody related to it because they understand what plates are. And everybody just loved it, and it was just a lesson to him that it's not necessarily how technical you are when it comes to performing.
Yeah, and it's kind of sad because I definitely want to present juggling to audiences in like a positive way. I don't want to undermine juggling. I think it's brilliant. I think it's amazing, and I think that everybody who gets exposed to it ends up really appreciating it. I even like teach a class for my dad's college course. He does like an applied mathematics course, and I teach a site swap lesson. And to say, to college students, you're going to learn site swap and you're going to love it. They're going to be like, what the hell is site swap? But after I get done with the lesson, they're all like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you think of like all these numbers at the same time when the patterns are going, and like, how do you keep track of that stuff in your mind? And they're really, really interested in juggling. So I think that definitely has its merits, and I don't want to like sell juggling short, but the fact that you could like do one trick for a kid or for a family like I was doing in the park, and then make 2 or 3 jokes about it, and that's the thing that they remember is like the way that you acted towards them, and juggling was like the thing that broke the ice. You get in there, you do a little bit of juggling, that's something that they can relate to, and then you just leave them with a positive experience. That's a big difference in like trying to show off and be all juggle god, and then trying to entertain people and make their day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, entertain more than just other jugglers.
Mm-hmm.
So when juggling changed from what you did as a hobby to what you did for a living, what was it about kind of the juggling performance life or the juggling career that you didn't expect?
I didn't expect it to be as freaking awesome as it is. Like honestly, I don't want to like turn this into some pissing contest or anything, but my friends that I graduated from high school and graduated from college with, they all like get to me every once in a while and they say, Joe, we've been seeing your videos, and we see like one of my friends said that they saw a performance and it turns out it was you, and I just think that that's the coolest freaking thing that you're working with juggling. And I'm like, hey, thanks a lot, man. That means a lot to me, because it really does. I still don't feel like the work that I do is like tiresome. And I know that some people are going to be like, well, you're probably not working hard enough, but it's all towards this goal of being a juggler. And if I can go to bed and say, I put in 9 or 10 hours today, either working on a new prop or, designing a costume or writing comedy for my shows or whatever I was doing, none of that is like tiresome or stresses me out, because it's all just working to try to juggle. Booking gigs. A lot of people are like, oh, I hate the process of calling people up and trying to book gigs. And like, sure, yeah, you can totally hate getting on the phone and being like, hi, can I have a spot in your show? No? All right, cool. And then like doing that 100 more times, and maybe 3 or 4 people will say yes. But when you get those shows, it's so rewarding. So that's the biggest surprise, is that I'm just not bored of it yet, and I'm not burnt out. I'm just ready to like attack it full speed and keep going.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. For those watching that are pursuing juggling professionally, and you don't like getting rejected when you're calling up places, there's a book I recommend called Rejection Proof. I forget the name of the dude who wrote it, but I'll put it in the notes. But basically, he realized that getting rejected was like, a big fear of his, and he wanted to stamp that out. So for 100 days, and he videotaped and blogged it all, he set out to be rejected every day. And like, there's crazy stories. Like, he knocked on some guy's house in a neighborhood, some guy's door, and he came to the door and he was like, "Hey, I was wondering if I could come play soccer in your backyard." And he had like shin pads on and a soccer ball, and the guy was like, "Sure, come on in." And like, the point he's making is like, you can ask people to do ridiculous things, and they might say yes. And the worst thing that's going to happen is that you don't ask at all. And
then nothing changes.
Yeah, exactly. And there's just a lot of opportunities that can happen when you do ask.
Yeah. Every once in a while, you have to like consider, if this is my one shot at talking to somebody, then I need to make this one count. So maybe I'll wait a little bit before I get to a place where I can ask what I'm asking, but 99% of the time, just try to do things. Mm-hmm. Matt Hall actually told me one time, he was like, "Hey, when I got to go to JJF and when I got to go to the Israeli Juggling Festival, I just spam asked like 24 festivals if they would have me come and perform and teach workshops and MC their show and whatever. And out of the 24 that he asked, he got picked up by like 4. That's 4 free trips to festivals just by asking people. Like, how bonkers is that?
That's those are pretty good. Those are pretty good odds.
Yeah.
So if you're good at juggling, now you know how to get free trips to festivals.
Yeah.
Well, you got to get in front of people too. All right. So what do I got here? One question I have is, so especially like when you're at Dollywood or any other gig you have, and you're practicing for that gig, or you're doing that gig, or you're searching for people to hire you, how do you make time to practice amidst all that?
It's definitely hard, but it's doable. You just got to figure, like, every day at Dollywood, I would go in at about 10 o'clock in the morning. I didn't have to be out on the park juggling until about noon, so I would use the 2 hours before to, like, I had a theater that was open, nobody was in it. I would juggle there and do at least 2 hours before I went out and started juggling for people. And this was practice just to keep my skills up personally for my like own sanity, because I'm going to spend the rest of the day from 12 until about 8 in the evening juggling for people, doing onesie twosie, doing the whole weave through the pattern and like the little factory carries and all that kind of stuff. So that was my time to really just rip and try to do some juggling that was going to make me happy. And then performing for everybody definitely makes me happy. I don't want to make it sound like I was like, oh God, got to go feed the pigs now. But it was, yeah, that was what I tried to do. And if you really feel strongly about juggling, you're always going to make time. Mm-hmm. A lot of people take time to go to the gym or take time to ride bikes or do whatever they're interested in. And if you're interested in juggling, you'll make time for it.
Mm-hmm. So when you're, I was just thinking of this. You're juggling for 8 hours straight, doing basic juggling patterns. How do you keep yourself entertained during those moments?
So during a performance, because like doing atmosphere is one thing. I guess I'll talk about that first. So atmosphere gigs are when you're just roving around. It's generally what people ask you to do when they think I'm going to hire a juggler. They just say like, oh, I'm just going to hire a juggler, and they're going to walk around and just do cool stuff. And if you're talking to a client that is saying that, don't be discouraged, because they don't know what you have to offer. So you're going to be a lot better than that, just because you're going to know how to talk to people and you're going to try to like interact and be this cool guy. So the thing that keeps me sane during those gigs is the fact that every single person that you meet is different, and they all have some sort of different scope on juggling. Either they haven't seen it before, or they have seen it and they don't like it. Then you can make them the brunt of the jokes, or they have seen it and they do like it. Then you can encourage the rest of the crowd to be as excited as this person is. It's all sorts of ways that you can interact with an individual person. or group of people to make them all satisfied. So that's something that I really like doing when it comes to atmosphere. And then when it comes to being on stage, which is like another part of the Dollywood gig, I would do like pre-shows, warm up the crowd kind of stuff before the main shows were on. And during those shows, each performance is slightly different. So either you're going to get heckled from the crowd and you're going to respond to it in a funny way and think, I need to put that in my show again. Actually, one of the ones that was one of the jokes that I just recently came up with was during my finger tricks routine. Like I do these little finger tricks and those ones and these ones and those ones. And during this one, somebody just moved their hands like this. And I had never seen that before, and I thought it was like really funny. So then I pointed it out. I was like, hey, there's a guy in the back that thinks he's really clever. He's just doing this. And everyone started laughing. And I was like, oh my God, that needs to go in the show. Ever since then, the next performance, I was like, hey, there's a guy in the back that thinks he's real clever. Goes, oh, 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 and everyone cracks up. So finding each performance to be unique and seeing how well you did and if there's anything that you can do better and if there's like jokes that came out of it or, you know, things that you did on stage that need to be done again. That's what excites me about stage performances and something to look forward to.
So would you say that in stage performances, you go into them a little bit kind of ready to be experimental with the things that you'll say?
Yeah, there's definitely a script, and that's like playing in your head. And if you're good enough, if you've practiced these routines enough, that should be automatic. You know, the words should be sort of like coming out of your mouth, and you can concentrate on little subtle details like which way am I turned towards the audience? Am I smiling right now? Is my head up or down? Like, is there any weird body positions that I shouldn't be in? Like, can they see the prop clearly? If somebody yells at you from the audience, you know, you're going through your lines in your mouth, but your head recognized what they just said and is thinking of like a quick little clever comeback. Because when I say lines from my show, you know, for instance, okay, I'm going to place the ball on my foot. Now, I'm going to kick the ball up through the hoop into my hand using the ancient Chinese art of Tai Ming. I will now use my exact Tai Ming and then like people will start to get the joke slowly. And all those words, I've said them so many times that it just comes out. So you're actually in this other space where you're reacting to your environment, and if you practice it enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it shouldn't be too shocking to hear that you can do that because, like, well, all the time you'll be thinking one thing and then say another thing, and then your friend will be like, "What'd you just say?"
Yeah.
And you'll say what you thought you said. Like, no, you didn't. You said this. So I mean,
exactly. Your brain just like works a little faster than your mouth in that case.
Yeah, we can do it by accident. We ought to be able to do it on purpose.
Right.
So it sounds like, well, for you, in both kinds of performances, what you really enjoy is interacting with people and kind of getting to know people, whether they're right there in front of you or even if they're off in the crowd, and saying, okay, this is what they need to hear. This is what they'll enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And how do you think that you think that just comes natural, or do you think that's something you've kind of developed?
I think it's something that I have definitely developed because before I distinctly remember I used to have this like thought in my head that I need to make a thing to show other people, and it's like me versus them. But over time, that fortunately has changed into, instead of an us versus them mentality, it's like all of us together. I've learned a lot about the people down in Dollywood, you know, what they're into, who they like, who they don't like. Like the people in Tennessee don't like people from Alabama. So if you have a joke that takes people a little while to get, like the timing thing, and then you mention at the end like, oh, you know, you finally got the joke. It's good to see that we have our guest from Alabama here today. That everybody likes that. So I had to learn that the people from Tennessee didn't care much for Alabama, and they make fun of them all the time. So it's just to be expected. Like if you're gonna go to that park and you're from Alabama, you're gonna get made fun of. And it's not in like a mean way. It's not in like a rude way. It's just like a playful thing. So yeah, definitely understanding your audience and bringing to them the type of entertainment that they would like to see. This is especially important. I got a little story for you. I was doing a performance with my old partner Jeff Peden, who was in Airplay with me. And, well, I was in Airplay with him. It was him and Wes before I came along, and then, long story. Anyway, we were doing a performance for Purim, which is this Jewish holiday, and they celebrate the holiday with jugglers. That's their thing. They just love jugglers on Purim. So we had this performance, and we had all sorts of things that we were going to say about, menorahs and about latkes and all sorts of stuff. And it was a very like Purim themed event. So everything seemed to be going pretty well until the one point where we're doing like our back and forth sort of 4-club passing interaction routine, and I'm just supposed to like toss him one club, toss him a second club, and then throw the third one in between my legs. And I don't know why I overcorrected and I threw it, and one of those clubs, which was an air flight, which are not friendly, went straight into the audience, and this little beautiful 4-year-old girl with this big smile just standing there in the front row, bam, right in the middle of her head.
I shouldn't
just
laugh.
Gets
it's not
wailed
funny.
with this air flight, and I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? And then she started bawling, like when I ran over to her trying to comfort her and stuff.
Before she was just shocked. She was like, what's going on?
Exactly. Yeah, she was just like, oh, okay, I just got hit. And then it's like, what is this weird man rushing at me? So that was a day that I learned something that audiences do not want to see in your performance. Do not peg little girls in the face with your juggling equipment.
I really thought you were about to tell me about how in this particular Jewish community they thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, no. Nobody thinks that's funny, actually. So learned a valuable lesson that day.
Glad to hear that. All right, so out of all the many, many performances in your life, what one sticks out as the most memorable?
It's kind of weird because I always snap back to this one performance that I did on the day after Halloween, and it was with Jeff when we were in Airplay together. And I'm about to reveal something to Jeff, maybe if he watches this, that I don't think I've ever told him before. So it was the day after Halloween, and for Halloween I was pretty drunk. So I'm at this Halloween party, having a great time, and then he calls me in the morning, like at my door, being like, "Hey Joe, you ready? I told you I'd pick you up at this time, so we're gonna go over and we're gonna do this performance." And I was like, "Oh shit!" Like I completely forgot about this. So I am hungover. I hop in the shower really quickly. I think I just did my hair in the sink. I was like, "Blah," and that was it. We go to this place. We start setting it up. It's at a library. We're doing like a library show. We start setting up the show. I'm getting the room spins. Every time I bend down to pick something up, I'm just I come back up and I'm like, whoa, oh man, I need to sit down or I'm going to yak. And so I told Jeff that I kind of felt a little bad. And I thought that maybe he knew what was going on with me. But as soon as we got ready to do the show, I was like, man, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And then we hit the music for the first routine, and as soon as I came back out from behind the curtain, I was ready to go. We had a dropless show. All of our lines were the best that we had ever done. The volunteer that we got from the audience was one of the best volunteers that we'd ever have, and I was completely hungover that entire show. I juggled the best in my life that I had ever done. So I actually tried this a couple times. I was like, all right, I'll go out after a night of hard drinking and see if I can juggle a lot better. And it turns out it's not so bad. Can't do it every day, obviously, but maybe once every couple months.
All right, so if we ever see you and it's a morning show.
Yeah, and I'm doing pretty well. I had a great night.
Wait, so Wes, he still doesn't know that you were really hungover.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Jeff did not know.
I
don't think he knew that I was hungover. Yeah, so that was probably the best show that I've ever done. It's so weird too because I have tons of great memories of like shows that I've done dropless in front of juggle audiences, and like I've done larger gigs. Like the first time I did a college gig, I was just so excited because I'm like, finally I'm doing a college show. But nothing quite like being completely hungover, fearing for your life, and then doing a dropless show and just having everything go really well.
That's pretty good. Maybe there was still enough alcohol in you that your inhibitions were,
Maybe that was
just far enough gone that you weren't too nervous.
Yeah, who knows? That could very well be.
All right, we're gonna do some quick fire questions.
Okay.
And then we get close to the end here. What's your favorite trick or pattern to do?
Shower.
All right. What about
Joe showers? Yeah, baby.
that was a horrible joke.
What? Come on, man. I've been working on that. Like, okay, I got to go to the drawing board for that one.
All right. What about to watch?
My favorite pattern to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Probably like just a 7-ring cascade from the front. So pretty.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like ring patterns from the side because it's just like you just get this look thing. But like from the front, it's like so crisp and clean and has those nice angles. I love just watching a 7-ring cascade.
All right, that's good. What's your favorite festival you've been to so far?
TurboFest.
TurboFest 2015.
TurboFest. I've been to the past 10 of them.
Oh
actually.
my gosh.
Yeah, and I got I got all sorts of like medals and stuff from Turbo
wow.
Festival, and they're just like sitting around. I won 3 grand champions, and dude, if you haven't been up to Turbo, you need to go. Here's the deal: 4 days now. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, fun day, and it's nonstop 24-hour juggling. They usually have like a live DJ or a live band playing. The shows are incredible. They just had Water on Mars. It's been 10 years of just incredible circus artists coming from the National School over in Montreal and this school from Quebec and from all over the world, and they're just like bonkers. They're so good at juggling and contortion and handstands or whatever. So you get an awesome show, you get an awesome festival, you crash downstairs at night. Like they took care of everything. The only thing you'd need to leave for is because they kick you out at the end of the 4 days and ask you to leave the circus school so that they can reset and do the rest of their year.
Like,
so.
All right, Joe, it's time to go.
Yeah, and then
they're like every year.
Like, don't take me.
So you've been going for 10 years. You've seen the festival go through some changes in those 10 years?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a lot smaller when it started, and it was only 3 days. And in those 3 days, we went balls to the wall and just didn't sleep at all. It was probably like go to sleep at 4 in the morning, wake up at 8, start juggling again, do that again the next day, and that's how Turbo went. Mm-hmm. And so now it's a little bit more laid back, but we still have combat parties starting at 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm. Great.
So that's your rapid fire question and answer of I Love TurboFest.
I said the questions are rapid fire. The answers don't have to be.
Oh, okay, great.
Favorite brand? No, I asked that in the wrong order. Your favorite prop to use?
Favorite prop? I like volleyballs. I do like juggling volleyballs because they're just a little bit larger, and you can do like balance stuff with them. You can spin them on your finger. You can find ways to roll them around your body. And they're not as hard as clubs.
All right. And what's your favorite brand of volleyballs to juggle?
Oh, Wilson indoor tournament volleyballs, because they're a little bit grippy and they don't like have that slip like the outdoor volleyballs do. Uh-huh. So I really like those. Also, Peter Panic uses water polo balls, and they're a bit heavier, but they got some really nice traction on them. Mm-hmm.
All right, that's great. I'm just thinking about Wilson, the movie.
Yeah.
Castaway. All right.
I don't have room for that. I haven't made room for a joke about that in my show. I don't know if is Castaway too old now to be making jokes about Castaway?
Probably.
Or will people still understand if you scream Wilson?
It's probably too old. Yeah. I don't know. I don't really feel like that was really a mainstream movie.
I don't know. Didn't it win an Oscar or something? Tom Hanks?
Tom Hanks is in it, so.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's a good dude.
Everyone, Tom Hanks is my favorite actor, so everyone should be a Tom Hanks fan and watch all of his movies because he is amazing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Did you see Polar Express, like the animated one?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Hot, hot. Oh, we've got it. Yeah, I know that
Oh,
song.
that's good.
Thank you. I was on the Polar Express a couple of years too. I was like juggling for the Polar Express.
Oh really?
Yeah, yeah. They like it's the Polar Express that was licensed by the company that made the Polar Express movie, and so I got on there. There was a bunch of chefs. I was juggling. They wanted me to juggle some cups like the hot chocolate scene, and then we got to hear Tom Hanks's voice read us the Polar Express story.
Over and over and over again.
And it's beautiful for the
So
first 2 times.
yeah.
It's horrible for the rest of the 80 times.
So you're a little jaded towards Tom Hanks.
Not no, I don't hold it against Tom. You know, Tom, if you're watching right now, we're all good. You know, no hard feelings.
Favorite music to listen to while you're practicing?
Um, Probably just some of that like electronic whatever noise. Although I tell you one thing, I can't listen to a song that has like repetition over and over. So I'll need like lyrics or just sort of some change of pace. Like every once in a while I listen to like Mars Volta or something that's going to get me like amped up. You know, if I'm doing just like endurance runs that day, then I want to like listen to some music that's gonna get me a little pumped. But otherwise, just like something chill with lyrics, so that it's not like the same loopy noise just over and over again, because that really gets in my ear and bugs me.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And so earlier you were saying that when you practice, you try to be really efficient. So what are some practicing tips for us?
Yeah. So one that I just recently started thinking about and realizing is that okay, so I have this big goal, and 5 club back crosses is the name of that goal. I want to be able to have a nice controlled 5 club back cross pattern, maybe like 30 or 40 catches, something like that, just so I know that I feel good about doing that. And it's been something that I've been working on for like 8 years now. Like the first time I tried to do 5 club back crosses was about 8 years ago. So that's pretty sad that my personal best run is 16 catches, and that was a while ago too. Like I am not good at this at all. But the one thing that I've learned, well, the many things that I've learned, the one most recent thing that I've learned about this process is you don't treat the drills like drills. Treat the drills like a trick of their own that you are excited to learn. So like 3 club back cross snake used to give me the biggest headache on the earth. It's so hard to do a 3 club back cross snake. And I was like, I gotta learn how to do this so that I can get 5 club back crosses. That was in my head the entire time. And then I just sort of like flipped a switch one day and I thought, all right, what if I just approach this like learning a trick? And then I got excited about learning how to do 3 club back cross snake. And now I can do that pretty easily. It's been helping my back crosses. It's been improving that pretty significantly. And just the other day, I tied my record 3 times. I qualified 5 club back crosses 5 times, and I got almost 20 catches, but the last 2 weren't clean. So like I got 18 catches, beating my personal record, but I don't count it unless it's like clean. So treating the drills as if they're a trick of their own that you're excited to learn is very important if you want to like make a good foundational base for your juggling to build.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic, and it keeps it fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Juggling should never be something that you're like, oh God, gotta go practice. You know, you should be excited about it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so in all of your time juggling, how has juggling affected your life?
Well, I mean, other than career path and place that I'm living and the kind of trips that I go on and the people that I know and the relationship that I have towards my family and all that kind of stuff. Other than that, you know, I wouldn't say it really affected me at all. Although I do like to juggle, you know, I'm sure everybody just fiddles around with stuff all the time. I'm constantly fiddling, just trying to not really do tricks, but I can't just sit around with my hands like not doing anything. I have to always be doing something. So that's one way that it's definitely affected me.
Cool.
Yeah, for better or for worse.
And how have you seen juggling kind of impact the world positively in your time?
making connections, like I was saying earlier with the Dollywood people when you're doing atmosphere, you know, it's very rare that you're gonna find somebody who is like upset or offended by the fact that you're juggling. I mean, I don't know. Liberals are getting pretty crazy nowadays. They're getting offended by a lot. Like, you know, they got their safe places. You can't say. Well, I'm not even going to say what you can't say because there's going to be some people getting upset at me for it. But yeah, juggling is like a way to just break barriers down between people. When you begin juggling, nobody's really intimidated by you. Nobody's like, oh, that guy's hard. He's going to like rob me or something. They're kind of like disarmed a little bit when you juggle, and then when it turns out that you're a great person too, you get to meet a lot of really interesting people.
Mm-hmm. And then if you do decide to turn into a criminal, you've got all kinds of
people you know,
rob.
They're all vulnerable and stuff.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh yeah, let me put my coat down over here so I can juggle better, and then yoink.
It's really great.
Yeah.
Criminal mastermind. All right, so I assume
Distract them with the juggling while your apprentice like just sneaks up behind them and reaches in their pocket.
I assume that people watching and listening to this have been like, man, Joe seems like a really cool guy. I wonder where I can check him out, see his stuff, and even meet him. So where could they do that?
Well, everybody can find me on Facebook because I'll accept pretty much anybody's friend request. I do have a Facebook fan page as well called Joe Showers Fan Page. This is where most of my content that I enjoy showing people will go. So a lot of the podcasts are up there. Any updates about where I'm performing, things like that. I have a YouTube channel. I haven't made a YouTube video in a while. It's probably going more towards the podcast, and the YouTube videos that I make are not really for jugglers anymore. They're for getting hired and stuff. So if you want to find it, you can probably just search for Joe Showers on YouTube and find it most easily. And yeah, catch me at your next festival because I go to a lot of festivals, and hopefully I'm a really nice, approachable guy that you just want to say hey.
Sweet. And you mentioned a podcast, and you said you have a couple episodes, and you're working on some more?
Yeah, I think I've got about 5 episodes of catching up, and it's just a little podcast that I'm running. I keep the most recent episodes on SoundCloud, so that's soundcloud.com/catching up, or maybe catching up podcast. You can find it on there. I also host them through my website, but once again, the easiest way to find out about this is to go to Facebook and join my fan page, and I'll put all the email, all the blasts out there.
Great. Well, we will look forward to those when they come out.
Great.
Well, hey, thanks again so much for being with us.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you for taking the time to do this. I know we had a little bit of problems, you and I, setting this whole thing up because I was down in Tennessee and my internet was really, really bad.
It's all right. We're cool, bro.
All right, great. You, me, and Tom Hanks. Everything's good.
That's right. All right, so you have the final word. So what's some words of inspiration to the juggling community at large?
All right. Got to make one clear message to everybody. Hey, kids. And maybe even adults. Boys, girls, whoever you are.
Mostly men in their 20s and 30s.
Yeah, you could be a man, you could be a woman, you could be young, you could be old, doesn't matter. You know what you should do? You should have a positive attitude about juggling. You shouldn't be discouraged. You should let all your frustrations go because there's nothing more beautiful than the joy that people get when they watch you juggle and the joy that you get from sharing your art with another person. So yeah, just always keep that in mind, man. Use the light side of the force. Don't get all angry and stuff, because juggling with anger, it's not a good place to be in. You're not going to make a lot of progression. You're not gonna blow past those plateaus. The only way to do that is just by having fun with it, enjoying yourself.
Mm-hmm. All right, great words of inspiration. Thanks for that. And thanks everybody else for tuning in to this episode of Everyday Juggler Profiles. Don't forget to check out other profiles and highlight reels every week on my channel. And until next time, keep on juggling.
Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, be sure to support the channel. Leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe.